My interest is in this world is to show REAL people that they're REEL, and show actors the REEL page is REAL. When you see your life as a choice, you can step through it. When you see your life as a choice, you see your character's life also as a choice. You can step into or out of the looking glass at any point. And as you learn to do this, you become an asset or a favorable light for others to follow in, because a baseball field, football field of dark black, all it takes is one match to bring light. The level, degree of light is questionable, but light nonetheless. And as an actor or a human being, to add darkness to darkness is where we are today. When is today? Always. To bring light to darkness is our plight. When is this happening? Now, as the future is now. As an actor, you have this piece of paper, you have this thing that you're not connected to. If you know what the need is, now here's need. The need is the most important thing in your life that you cannot live without. If you can live without it, throw it away. If you're on a date and you can live without the date, throw it away. If you have a script and you read the script and you don't care, don't go on the audition. You're only practicing hope. If someone just told you you have cancer, I would say, take all the hope you want and I'll help you eat some too. If you woke up today and it's another day, hope makes your day nothing. It's like hoping for Prince Charming. Why don't you just kiss the frog in front of you and say, I do? Get started already. Frog is in your mind, not in the human being. Faith. Hope opens the door. Hope opens the door. Faith walks through it. I want you to start walking through the door. If you die, oh shucks, you're gonna die. Who cares? We're gonna die in 10 seconds. I mean, I'm gonna get on the plane tomorrow night and die. You're like, you die. Dying. You don't die after you're dead. Dying is part of life. It's exciting to die. It's exciting to go to the bathroom. It's exciting to be alive. You're so worried about exciting things that you're not here. Stakes. You actually want to write on your page, stakes. The most important person, place, or thing in my life that I cannot live without. If you can live without what's in front of you, don't do it. You're just in hope. I hope I like this. I hope it works out. I hope the casting director likes me. I hope the guy on the date likes me. I hope that blah, 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 blah. Okay, if you've just been raped and you hope you don't die, I will take you to the hospital and I'm with you. Let's use hope where it's skillful. Faith. I cannot not be me until I'm no longer me. And while I am me, I am here. And while here, I'm an investigator investigating the most optimal investigation there is known to mankind. My own intellect will tell me I want hers and hers and hers and hers. And I wish I were a flower. I am a flower. You can't see something you're not. If you see it, you are it. Tag you're it. Including the bad guy. You cannot see something you don't know, and if you know it, you are it. Be careful what you see. If the person, place, or thing, and we can say person, but it's a person, anything that represents a noun, anything identifiable. Person, place, or thing in front of you is the most important thing in your life, and if you can live without it, don't do it. If you cannot live without it, we've got something to do, because in the moment that you say, I need that, there's an organic obstacle in the way. We talked about that for the last 2 hours. What's in the way? Your disgusting, yucky, small-minded, opinionated, literal mind will have an answer for you. I'm not pretty enough, I don't like me, I can't, I don't afford it, I'm ugly, warts, like you'll have enough information to fill the obstacle to build a brick house. Another brick in the wall, a thought is a brick in between you and me. The stakes are that with which you want to raise the stakes. How many of you want to spend 16 days trekking and climbing a mountain the size of that little box? How many of you, raise your hands? How many of you, don't speak for everyone, there might be someone that goes like, I'm afraid of heights, it's good enough for me. I'll spend 16 days hoping I'm not bored to death while I trek that. And most people do. How many of you want to spend 16 days trekking the Alps? If you're going to trek. So you want to make the stakes that high. You want to trek something. We're tracking it so you can trek it. You want to create the life you're living. Not resist and be angry about the life you think you are given. You think drinking is addictive, try thinking. You think a thought more than once, you're addicted to thinking. You don't need to think a thought more than once. You say, I need to pick up my dry cleaning. You don't have to think it or remember it. It's only fear, the absence of, the memory too, that will bring me no clothes tomorrow, that has me remember it and remember it and remember it and remember it, which means think it and think it and think it and think it. And each time you think it, you put another brick in the wall. Think of the size of a stadium. That's what a newborn baby has, totality. All it takes is one thought to lose half a stadium. The carpet should have been green. Okay, beige. Giggle, giggle, giggle. One thought. All it takes is one more thought. One more thought. You're left with a quarter of a stadium. 2 thoughts. Can you imagine after 16 thoughts? How many thoughts per minute do you think? You don't even want to know. By the time you get to where you are, you're no longer thinking. You're thinking the thinking's thought to save you from, they say in alcoholism, the man takes the drink takes the drink, the drink takes the man. I say in human behavior, the man takes the think takes the think takes the man. Thoughtful, isn't it? Stakes, the most important thing in your life that you cannot live without. If you don't make the stakes so high, what are you going to do for the whole 3 pages? Stand there and hope the director doesn't fire you? You want to get activated in a piece of, now if it's an audition or a date, or you're at work and you have a whole day of work, and how many clients do you have coming, and you don't want to go to work that day, and your daughter's homesick, and you got to this and got to that, and blah, blah, blah. And you go, there's going to be one person that shows up today that if I weren't there, their life is going to change. And in that moment, it activates you viscerally into the presence of the opportunity, because the stakes are that high. Someone needs you. You're not. It's just not another day of work. You forget to remember the mind's adaptation for how small your life is and how monotonous it gets. And you get activated into the individuality of, it's my mom coming in to have herself checked to make sure she doesn't have cancer. And you can't wait to get there. And the day becomes about, but it's how you remember the self back.
Sorry, how you remember that?
Remember the self back.
Self back.
You never want to remember the self. You always want to remember the self back. What that is the ideology, the 3 propellers as they start to run, you become who you are. Remembering the self back is the witness. Oh, that's who I am. It's the train of thought running backwards. It's Brahman breathing back out. The exhale is where you see the self. It's paradoxical. It can also be the inhale. Let's all happening now. To the micro, the exhale and the inhale now. That takes longer than 2 days. We'll leave that there. So, that the opportunity of the beginning of totality, if the need, pillar of salt, the need isn't that great, there is no movement. To desire is to start to give birth to. We started to talk about God, God being nature. Here's how I talk about God, so it helps all the different people in the room. Take totality and everything in it and everything out of it, and if you took the entire thing and stuck it in a big green garbage bag. I guess it could be a black garbage bag. I just always say a big green garbage bag. You can pick the color you want. You took everything in the entire universe and you put it in this big green garbage bag. What would there be left over? Nothing. But even nothing is something. right? So even nothing goes in the big green garbage bag. Go to the ends of all the solar systems, like there's beyond nothing, there's nothing outside of nothing's nothing that's left. Take all of that and put it in the big green garbage bag. The big green garbage bag and its contents, God. Every religion is in there, Jeffrey Dahmer's in there, death is in there, disbelief in God is in there. It's all in there. The totality of content is in there. Any thought you have is in there. The only thing outside of that is observation, which is in there. Now, you'll either go insane trying to observe, not observing, or you'll pop and wake. You trip into the self. Here's the causation of that creation. Minus the thought. Have one thought and lose it all. You either have totality, 1 in 7 billion, you take 7 billion, or 1. You are 1. You want to lose the self and gain 7 billion, but the fear of loss of self and its own individuality keeps us from the 7 billion. An opinion of protection of self. You either are or you is. I always failed English. Proudly. You either are or you is. When God handed me, I said, thank you very much. No, thank you. I want it all or nothing. I either am or I'm not coming. And it really requires more than that choice to enter the field of totality. Freedom, freedom, free from being dumb. All we're doing here today is making you aware. We're not selling you anything, we're not giving you anything, we're not changing your mind, we're not making you believe me, we're just making you aware of opportunity. We're not making you aware of a better math. I'm sorry, a writer English. I'm sorry, Tribeca's better than. We're just making you aware of something you've never been aware of. You then can say, no, thank you. The fact that you heard it, tag you're it. Once you hear more than you already know, you're 2 years old, you go into the candy store, you steal chocolate. What do they do? Put you in jail? They're like, the guy's either an asshole and he goes, your kid stole chocolate, pay me for it. Or he gets, how cute is that? I have a candy store to see just that. You're 22. You're 22. And you go into a candy store and you steal chocolate. You go to jail. You get caught. You go to jail. You're a judge. And you go into a candy store and you steal chocolate. You're on the front page of the paper. What's the difference? Level of awareness. The more awareness you have, the more responsibility, ability to respond you have, the more responsibility you have. In your life, do you want to live life or death? Like the last 20 minutes of the Titanic? Or do you want to wait for your life to start? Which equals suffering. I'll give you 400 years to think about it. 1,000, 2, 1. Thank you. Why would your characters want any less than you? Now, I'm not putting down acting coaches, I'm not putting down directors, I'm not putting down anything in our world, but we're teaching what we know. What we know to teach, we're handing off. And it's just time to put a chink in the chain link fence. You know, you're as strong as your weakest link. You know, it's time to become aware of the fence. To shift our ancestry by shifting our presence. By becoming aware of these opportunities. Stakes are the most important thing. If right now I was not the most important thing in your life, you would not be sitting here. How many of you are sitting here out of politeness? You can't. It's not the 50s anymore. Wherever you are is the most important place in your life, but you'll tell yourself the most important place in your life is coming. Stakes, the most important, whatever's in front of you has to be the most important thing in your life, or don't do it. Why? Because if it's not, you're not visceral. In order to be connective, The thing in front of you has to be the most important thing in your life. Otherwise, your mind is where it is. Now that's why most of you suffer. Because the most important thing in your life is very rarely where you are. Your body is here, and your mind is thinking about, if only I had that date, and if only he liked me, and if only that was going on, but it's not because I'm this and I'm that. But if I could, and I would let that crash in the car. Because you're not connected to where you are. There's no channel. I want you to really get stakes. When you pick up your script and you read it, the most important thing in your life has to be who you're speaking to. But if you're speaking to a house, a toothbrush, a person, a dog, who you're speaking to. You actually say, you write on your script, the person I'm speaking to is the most important person in my life and I cannot live without him. Without him, I don't have what? Whatever the obstacle is keeps you from what you need. This is really hard to do, ladies and gentlemen, because it's so simple. The person in front of you has to be the most important thing in your life. You say, he is the most important thing in my life and I cannot live without him. Without him, I don't have what? If it's about love, you say he's the love of my life, and without him I don't have what? If it's about power, you say he's the most important person in my life, and without him I don't have what? Love, he's the love of my life. Power, he's power. You know whether it's seen as about love or it's about power, it's about death. If it's about death, someone dies in the scene. If they die in the next scene, it's not about death. They have to die in the scene they're in. You're going to all die one day, but you're not acting like you're going to die because it's not the page you're on. The page you're on is the page you're on. Here, 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 here. The higher the stakes, the more connected you are. If you had paid $10,000 to be here today, how much more here would you be? I mean, that's a simple, words are powerful. That's a simple, I make one statement, you're like, yep. If you paid $10,000 to be here today, you'd all be sitting here. You want to make the stakes high enough to grab your attention. If it's about someone else, maybe, not really. Well, I mean, I'm just bored. If your life is at stake, what? Yes, right now. There's an ambulance, I'm in it. You want to watch Leonardo DiCaprio's work or the soap opera? Because Leonardo DiCaprio isn't acting, he is experiencing and you're getting to watch. I want your lives to look like that. Not look like that, look like, I want the experience called that you are, I am, is that with which I am invested in. The person in front of you has to be the most important thing in your life. Right now, when you leave here today, this is your homework till I see you tomorrow. Everything you stand in front of, I want you to look to see, you're going to go like this, I would be so tired. No, it's called I would be so alive. Where you spend your time, how much time you spend where you are, renegotiated. What you waste your time on, what you spend time thinking about, renegotiated. The person in front of you is the most important thing in your life and you cannot live without it. If it's about love, very simple. If it's about love, what it means is there's something in between us. I need to get you to love me. You're the love of my life and I can't live without you. Without you, I have nothing. The obstacle is you don't love me. I have to get you to love me. If it's about power, you have something I need. Really that simply. If it's about power, you have something I need. I'm using you to get what I need. It's really that simple. You're the most important person in my life and I can't live without you because you've kidnapped my child. I have to get you to give me my child back. If it's about love, there's something in between us. If it's about power, I need you to get me something. Why we have gone from my father starting Broadway to where we are today, and you got to take this class, you have to have backstory, and you have to think about this, and then you have to go ahead and you have to stand like that. And you have like the best fried chicken in the world, little salt, little pepper, little flour, corn oil. 20 minutes, 10 minutes on either side. The crispiest, yummiest fried chicken you'll ever have in your life. Now, your intellect in the beginning will want to keep you from the obstacle because you're going to want to do things you can succeed at, because who living a suffering, fail-based, hope-filled life is going to want to put more in it? No one. So when you actually look at your scripts and you go, I want to get this director to hire me, or you go on a date and you want to get the woman or the man to date you again, You are not going to put in front of you something that makes it more difficult. Now, on a date, what makes it more difficult is your vulnerability. Well, that's what has a person not want to go out with you again. On an audition, what you put in front of you is your vulnerability. That's what makes a casting director want to bring you back in again. But the last thing you want to do is make yourself frail. You want to make yourself strong and look good and act like you know and do the right thing and say all the right things and say, oh my God, this is the best script I've ever read, piece of shit. But I really need, oh God, with me. Because you don't think that casting director has heard every single person. You don't think that guy on a date has heard every girl. You don't think that girl on a date has heard every guy. So if you make the stakes so high that there's no way you can climb that mountain before the monsoons come and blow you off it, not only when you get started are you not going to have a thought, you can't afford to have a thought. The action is action. Put one hand in front of the other. And before you know it, you go into an active meditation. You start to enjoy, not E-N-J-O-Y, but I-N-J-O-Y. Activated during. No thought later about whether, don't you think you go down on a date and go, like, that was so much fun, I want to do it again. Well, why didn't you enjoy it completely while you were on it where you'd actually be ready to sleep now? You want to wait till it's over so that you can identify whether or not it was safe or not, to like it or not, so you can then enjoy it. That's why enjoy is present and past. It's not, it's future and past, it's not present. So if the stakes are so high that you know you can't succeed, the best you've got is get on the mountain and begin. Can any of you succeed at life? Wow, sometimes people raise their hand and I have to go in and like slash them. I play the slasher for a little while, You can't succeed at life. At best, you're going to die. But you can dare while failing greatly. And to dare is to live. Not to dare another, to dare. To live a life of impossible. I'm possible. Make the stakes so high that there's no way to get up. The obstacle's so great, like I want to be an actor, but I can't get an agent, and it's a catch-22, and you have to work to get an agent, and I can't work until I have an agent, and now, here's the difference. This is what makes you proactive instead of reactive. In America, we go, I have to be an actor. And I have a lot of working actors that are like heavy-duty work. So they're like, I have to work, but after this job, I've got to be better than that. And if I'm not, I'm going to lose my standing, and then I'm going to lose my agent because I left my last agent to get to the next agent, and this agent needs me to do that. And if that doesn't happen, then I'm going to go back, and they won't take me back. And then it'll be like, well, you're not working anymore. And then that's how a successful actor screws its own self out. He makes up obstacles that are ludicrous and then lives them to their truth. That's how powerful you are as manifestors. Whatever you believe, believe, you be and live. Believe, be, live. You live what you believe. Be careful what you believe. So the stakes, that first propeller, you go from pillar of salt, no movement. First propeller shows up. Now they don't show up in order. In order is a cultural phenomenon. Nothing's in order. In order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is only in order to understand. None of you understand anything as soon as you start talking to another, so there is no order, so let's give that up. But I'm speaking it in a particular order to help the intellect understand no intellect. But there is no order. It's like 8 little choo-choo trains that are all magnetically attracted. You get 8 separate little trains of thought, and those 8 separate little trains of thought that are their own equation unto themselves. Each train of thought is its own equation. Those 8 line up, they magnetically attract, and each one pulls the next. And tomorrow, as we add some more, you're going to start to see the mathematical attraction to causation of creation and where pathology starts to come into notion. One speaks to get in the disbelief of the action they take. In that action shows you whether they're successful or not their outcome, in the action. How many of you, well, you guys are all brand new. I can read 2 pages of any script and tell you what the entire script is about. Now I'm hired often to read, for movies or whatever because they need someone to set it up quickly. But how would you love to have the tool where you could pick up a script, read 2 pages, and tell you everything that's going to happen? That'd be an asset. Well, guess what? You don't even have to take the class. You're taking it right now. You have to practice it. I've been doing this my entire life. 7 days a week. So it takes, but I mean, I've been able to do this for the last 25 or 30 years. So it's, you get better at it, right? The more you play at anything, right? The more you suffer, the better you get at suffering. It's, it's a learned art. Stakes, obstacle, through line. They start to chase each other. I need an agent. The obstacle is I can't get an agent. The action is to go home and drink. That's not going to make the propellers go. That's a different propeller, and we don't have the luxury today of time to go into that. But stakes, obstacle, and through line. The need is I need an agent. The obstacle is I can't get an agent. The overall through line, the action. The overall through line is to get an agent, which means I have to jump over my obstacle into my need. I have to be willing to risk the loss of the truth of my obstacle. It's a catch-22. I haven't worked. No one wants me. I don't have a resume. I'm not good enough, they think. My agent just left me. My self-esteem is down. I didn't book the job I should have booked. The girl that is prettier than me. Like that made-up crap that there's no one holding a gun to your head that says believe this, and you on your own for no known reason go, I'm not good enough. That girl's prettier than me. They won't hire me. Really? And then you have the audacity to blame some invisible creature. There's no one thinking for you, even if you want them to. Your mothers may look like, or husbands may look like they're thinking for you, but they're not. They're just thinking what they need you to think to make their life easier. Stakes, obstacle, and through line. The stakes, life or death. Life or death. You have to say that person in front of me is the most important person in my life, and I cannot live without them. If you can live without them, you will. If you can't live without them, the Alps. You got to get started. What's the obstacle? I'm on the Alps and I run out of food. Don't have time to go back. Won't make it forward. What do? Just sit there and go, I ran out of food, I give? No, your life is at stake. You start up the mountain. If you die on the mountain, you die on the mountain. If you make it to the top and you go like, I went 4 days without food, and ta-da! But you don't go like, oh, games, Monopoly, I'm not playing, I'm losing. The way you give up Monopoly is the way you give up your life. The way you do anything is the way you do everything, right? The microcosm of totality is in its macrocosm's microcosm. All right? In any whole is a piece. In that piece is the whole. A WHOLE isn't an HOLE, isn't a WHOLE, isn't an HOLE, isn't a WHOLE. It's a conundrum. Not only is it pathological, it's also paradoxical. Everything is anything. Anything is everything. So stakes, obstacle, and through line, they chase each other. They chase each other. And when they chase each other, watch this. There's the stakes. I got to get an agent. There's the obstacle. I can't get an agent. There's the action. I'm willing to risk getting an agent to see what happens. I have to go beyond myself. I know I can't. There's the audition. The scene is about she walks into an audition to get the job, and the casting director is the distinction, someone that's not hired her 5 times in a row. The previous circumstance, the people sitting out in the waiting room, all better than her. She knows their resumes. She doesn't have one. Okay, pretty big obstacle. My previous circumstances, the people sitting in the waiting, I know all of them, and they're not, one's Michelle Pfeiffer, who else is, one's Meg Ryan, and one's Kate Blanchett. Oh yeah, nothing on me. All right, I'm sitting in the waiting room. I haven't been an actress since I was 33. I'm 51. It's for Hamlet. Kate Blanchett's sitting there. If you were a normal person, you would go home. You would say, Kate Blanchett, I'm going home now. Okay, those are the people that don't work, most people. And then there are the people that go, wow, if I'm sitting in a room with those people, I must be more than I thought I was. If you're swimming in soup, you must have that flavor about you. That audition's the most important thing. Not the audition, but for the sake of, is we're the character now inside of. That's the most important thing in my life. The obstacle is, there's just no way. Well, if there's no way, why try to win? Why not go to play? If I know that's going to Kate Blanchett no matter what, why go to beat someone? Why go to do what's impossible? Or worse, not go at all? Why not use the audition to grow the depth of self and have the time of my life, since I know it has nothing to do with actually booking the job? Why not be willing to risk the loss of what I believe to be true, the job, because it's not, and go play full out? What if I made the audition the job instead of the audition the thing that will give me the job? What happens is, as I take the action, as I go to open the door and walk in the room to meet the casting director, stakes, chasing the obstacle, chasing the need, chasing the stakes, chasing the obstacle, chasing the need, the propeller starts to run. And what flies off is this fourth thing, and the fourth thing becomes the activity of the action that the experiencer is experiencing, not something I'm doing to get something I need. At the end, when I walk out the door, I probably won't remember most of what occurred because it's outside of my known self. My own path has not rung this merry-go-round yet. It may be the beginning of a new merry-go-round, right? You went to the park for the first time. You may go back again, you may not go back again. But it's creating a new park, a new Disney, a new reel. I'm an experiencer experiencing an experience, not walking into an audition wishing that the circumstances were different and I wasn't screwed again. I'm willing to risk taking off. You have these three propellers. They start to chase each other. This fourth thing occurs. That's what the director gets to film. That's what the people in the restaurant get to watch. You all know when you see two lovebirds walking, you can tell if it's a first date, their wedding night, they've been married 2 years, 4 years, 7 years. You can watch them and you can tell how often they look at each other, how often they look at others, how long the guy lingers on the younger girl. You can tell the entire history, his story, her story. Now, I don't mean to scare you or anything, but I mean, I can read anyone. I can tell anyone anything about themselves. And by the way, the people that look the most together are the most untogether, but you know that, right? The more glue, the less you. Truth is that with which never changes. I don't care whether, it's the 4th century or the 4400th century, it never changes. The propellers never alter. What the need is, what the obstacles are, whether you're being reactive or proactive, the willingness to risk. We live in a world of plastic credit cards and more possibility, opportunity, plane jets going anywhere, it's science developing, and people are dead man walking way, like 500,000 to 1. We have people running companies with so much money in the bank that they can't sleep at night, so frightened someone's going to steal it or that they might not have enough. Very few people living well alive. You want to get those propellers moving, whether you're using it in your acting career or you're using it in your life career. Life is school. Life's school. There's only one thing we all have in common, whether you're Hitler or Mother Teresa, or only one thing we all have in common: learning. We're learning to take our first breath, we're learning to take our last breath, and everything in between. No one knows anything. Although everyone runs around pretending and believing that they do, because they suffer so much. If they don't, they're screwed. I want you to live while you're alive. You have a right. You have the right. You were born. It took you 400,000 lifetimes to get here. How many cockroaches you had to be to get here. Now you're here and your circumstances keep you from joy? Said that way, it's kind of shocking, huh? Your circumstances keep you from joy, whether you're born with 1 leg or 3 breasts, or like your circumstances keep you from joy? Because we live in a cult that goes, I have to be like you to feel safe. But my neurology wasn't born like you, my chemistry wasn't born like you, my history wasn't born like your history, but I have to pretend to be like you to feel okay. How about I get to be like me to feel okay? How about the only thing that makes us all the same is that we're different? But that's not the happy birthday song we sing right now. So here's the opportunity that allows an investigation of depth of self beyond one's own individuality intellectually. This is ontology. This is the study of the science of being, only it's not study or science. It is. I mean, science is studying it. They're a few 100,000 light years behind because studying takes time, and time has nothing to do with presence, energy, flow, grace. This is wisdom. This is that with which causes. What it causes, how it causes, that's the fun of life. Let's see. Go to the park. Maybe you get hit in the head. Maybe you learn, whoo, down the slide. But the park you live in is nothing more than an adult child's park. And mostly you're being hit in the back of the head. And I'm just here to say, move a little bit away from the swing. Stakes, obstacle, through line. The person that you're watching in the film, if the person in front of them is so important to them, the obstacle will pop. You'll see it. Now, some people are obstacle driven. Al Pacino's entire career was predicated on obstacle. He would pick up a script and just see obstacles. That's all he saw. It made him a famous star. He picked up, there's like, watch any of his movies, and he sees an obstacle coming at him every 1/8 of a second. It's just his organic way of life. And one of the reasons I have incorporated this part of the work into my work is because my father, as I said, was one of the greatest movie stars that ever lived. And he was a depressive. You know, he went to bed a lot. He was a not professional, but I mean, he was an addictive gambler. I want people to have their cake and eat it too. Most people are, I want to be a star, I want to have all that. Well, there is no such thing as all that. There's only such thing as all this. And right now, God has a bad name and all this has a bad name. And I just don't get it. So as you start to watch, you know, Al Pacino has like you know, in the base of the foundation of his career. He picks up a script and all there are obstacles, and you see him take an action to get out of them, no matter what. No matter what, he takes an action to get out. Or you see the guy that just jumped off the bridge, Tony Scott, you know, it's unbelievable, you know, from the time that guy started. And Bruckheimer, I mean, you know, he picks up a script, he throws it up in the air, and he films it. His scripts are all ladled with obstacle. Just, they're one big obstacle, it's all impossible. And you go in, put on a seatbelt, get your popcorn, go. You know, that's how he shoots. He shoots an obstacle. You start to see this. By the conclusion of tomorrow, you won't see a film anymore and go, whether it's good or bad. You'll see a film and go, oh, they didn't have substitution. Oh my God, they were missing obstacle. Oh, he didn't care. There was no stakes. You'll now be more learning in life school, less observing, opinionated, what's wrong with the world, which is just a mirror image of self, because you can only see a reflection of you. You don't see a reflection of her, you don't see a reflection of her, you don't see a reflection of him. You see a reflection of yourself when you open your mouth. You open your mouth for one of two reasons. You don't speak. You speak to reveal, or you speak to conceal. Freedom, which is just free from being dumb. Dumb is wanting it to be different than it is, right? Because nothing's ever going to be different than it is. Freedom doesn't speak. A mother doesn't say I love you to its child because it needs to say I love you. The child knows the mother loves it. The mother knows it loves the child. The mother says I love you to the child because she wants it to go to sleep and it's not, and she wants to reinforce that she loves it so it doesn't get mad at her. Or to help the child become codependent. Or to get the child to feel bad for not going to sleep. I love you, honey, go to sleep. The mother, do you understand? Freedom doesn't speak. You speak to reveal, or you speak to conceal, or you don't speak. You speak, unless you're speaking in selfless service, which doesn't really exist on our earth today for the most part. So we don't have to worry about spending too much time on that category. And if you're studying with me, you know we spend time there. We have a lot of people that flew in from LA for this class. But you know, if you're just here for 2 days and we're not going to meet again, let's pick what we're going to work on and really saturate that, right? We don't want to water it down so much that, you know. When you reveal something, and you're going to learn about this tomorrow, but when you reveal something, it's to conceal. When you conceal something, you're revealing something so they won't, it's like, look over here so you don't see this. So when you speak for one or two reasons. You don't speak at all. When you look at your scripts, and you know that everything is pretty much about subtext. Every once in a while, we don't have enough time in here, so I'm not going to do it today, but every once in a while I'll say, who in here doesn't lie? And someone will raise their hand. I never lie. I'm predicated on telling the truth. And I go, that's a lie. Every once in a while we get someone who's really ill and they'll get up and leave. I mean, that probably hasn't happened in 10 years, but you know, they have to feel like they're telling the truth because inside they feel like such imposters. Guys, how many times have you knocked on a girl's door to take her out for dinner and you took her out because you didn't want to sleep with her? You took her out because you weren't interested in her. Right? But how many of you guys knock on the door and the girl opens the door and you actually tell the truth, like, I hope you me, dude, because I'm spending the last $50 I have to entertain you so that you'll sleep with me. Now, guys don't tell the truth because they wouldn't get laid. Guy opens the door and he goes, wow, you look pretty. What he means is, will you sleep with me? Yes? He's revealing to conceal. Okay, girls, your turn. We don't answer the door having just stuffed everything around the apartment under the bed, spent our rent on a bottle of wine that makes us look like we know what we're doing, and put on our dress that we borrowed from our friend, and open the door acting non-frazzled and go, hey, come in. Because we don't want to get married. It's an odd forum for a group of New Yorkers. You may not come back tomorrow, but truth be told, life is more important to me than how you feel about me. I want you to live this way too. I want you to stand in the grace of opportunity and not fall in the demise of someone else's opinion. I want you to fail while daring greatly. I want you to make impossible commitments and then keep them. I want you to help people for no reason, because that's how you find out who you are. Stakes, obstacle, and through line, when they start to chase each other, become a propeller that the plane can take off. Once they do, the fourth thing that flies off from that is how you come into existence and show up here in Inception. You get caught up in an activity of a moment. So the problem is your attention is on the future or the fear of the past, right? Everyone has a disgusting past and a hopeful future, or a glorious future and a disgusting past. And you know what yours is. The past you'll never get back again, or the future you're waiting to get to. And that the opportunity here is bring them together, in that the stakes being so high you can't take your eye off the mountain now. There's no food, there's no water, and there's no way. You start moving. You don't have the luxury of opinion. The action becomes you. You find out who you are in this step. This is the work that we're talking about. Now, it's not work once you've received it, because you don't recognize this work. You know this work. It's not work. But if I use the distinctions that it is, I'd first have to train you. So I'm using words that you understand enough to utilize in an abstract way to create the causation of the permission of cognation organically. If I talk to you like that, you will get up and leave. So I am speaking to you in words you understand, even though the words are meaningless. It's the math, it's causing. When you're watching a movie and the person in the movie is speaking to the most important person in their life, and they can't live without them, the actions they take become visceral. They leave the land of intellect. I'll do this to get that. Human behavior starts to occur. Behavior, your behavior is what you have. Your being has your behavior. What happens is you get to learn about yourself instead of you do that thing again. You become a Mad Lib to fill in the space instead of I know the sentence. How many of you want to be alive while you're here? Here's ignition. Here's opportunity. I don't care if you're a dog catcher or president or homeless or you're a human being. Activate. 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 Here's the math and the information and the permission. Activate.